X-Pac 12360.
A new day is dawning for DX.
And now, your host, Sean X-Pac Waltman.
Welcome to X-Pac 12360, everyone. How did that sound?
Fantastic.
So
Pretty good, right? Yes. I spit that out very nicely. All right, so we're going to keep this one. We're going with this one. No retakes. That was a good one. Welcome to X-Pac 12360, everyone. I missed you last week. Well, actually, I didn't really miss you at all because I was busy, like, enjoying one of the best weeks I've had in years at the Performance Center in Orlando. So, like, please don't have your feelings hurt when I tell you that I would have been just fine if I didn't come back. No, I'm sorry. I'm not trying to be a dick. I'm just trying to express the
enjoyment you had at the PC.
Well, yeah, just like, I mean, that's heaven down there. You know, for someone, you know, for someone that's been in the industry for decades and came up a certain way and had to overcome, you know, certain things that, you know, that we didn't have an industry coming up, and they do now. And they, you know what? People go, oh, these kids nowadays or whatever, and yada, yada, yada. But, you know, like, no, like that, this is great they have all this stuff. Like, and, you know, like, the people my age and all that, like, you know, doing that, these kids nowadays, shit. Come on, be happy for these kids. Yeah, we didn't have it. And yes, we busted our asses, and, you know, a lot of us paved the way for these things to happen. But I mean, and yes, it would have been nice for us to have these things. But we didn't. You know, if people are going to go out there and risk their lives, you know, we're going, especially nowadays, with that, you know, the way this, just, you know, the bar is raised, like, as far as, you know, the crazy things that are done in the ring, like, the risks that, you know, and the damage that everyone's doing to their body long term, you know, they deserve the very best, and they have the very best down there in Orlando. And I'm just blown away by the whole thing.
And your generation and previous generations, you all paved the way for this to be a possibility, to be professional wrestling, to be so huge that the Performance Center is so successful.
Yeah, so let's be happy for them and for all for everyone coming up that has that at their disposal down there. I mean, because you have to have brought something to the table. You have to have worked your ass off, or worked your ass off in another field, you know, another sport or something, to have caught their eye and end up at the Performance Center down there. So, you know, even if it's just, you know, they're taking a chance on your potential, you know. And if that's the case, like, and it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. You know, people, you know, come through there and you know, some don't last long. So, but I don't know how I got off on that tangent already.
Well, that's what, you know, you were there last week. The fans want to hear about your experience. I guess, you know, my first question right off the top is how surreal was it for you? You had nothing like the Performance Center growing up. When you walk in there, what's your first thought when you see everything there? And I don't, maybe are there a couple hundred people there per day? Like, what are the daily operations?
I wouldn't. No, there's not that many people. It depends on the time of day and what day, and, you know, what's going on, and you know, certain days Sean's there. I'd say he's teaching his class, for lack of a better way of putting it. You know. Anyways, I'll get to all that. You know what goes on, and well, I'm not actually allowed to say what goes on in Sean's class, but it's like you know, it's where you learn how to make the secret sauce, everyone.
All right.
So, and everyone kind of has to come up with their own recipe for their secret sauce. So
that's a good place to come up with a recipe.
Yeah.
Is Sean's class in ring and promos? Or?
No, it's not in ring and it's not promos. It's just
the advanced.
Yeah, it's the good shit. It's the shit that you have to be ready for, or you're not even going to get. It's the shit that That's it. I'm not allowed to say anymore.
Well, my guess would it's like in graduate school where you just meet with the professor at the beginning of the semester and he tells you exactly what's expected of you, and then you meet with him maybe 2 or 3 times other.
Yeah.
And that professor's so good that they form everything you did that year.
Did you sit for a promo class or like?
No.
What was the situation like?
All right, so I got there. There was a rental car waiting for me, and a very nice place at the Residence Inn. So the accommodations were great. I showed up on time. Very proud of myself. Showed up at 9:00 a.m.
Was Lula with you?
No, Lula stayed here.
All
right. And there's a lady named Melissa that pretty much makes everything happen around there. She holds everything together, and she's a spectacular lady. Her energy's infectious. She's just like she always has a big smile on her face, and kind of like a mother to everyone, but I don't know if mother's the right way of putting it, but just kind of and really, I'd been to FCW and it was in Tampa, and then they changed it to NXT while they were in Tampa. So I had seen that was a nice facility too, but the system was different, and now the system is just it's not just the system, but it's the culture. The culture is it's everything you would hope for.
I saw your tweet mention about how it was the most positive environment you've ever been around.
Ever.
Yeah.
And I'm not just saying in the industry, but definitely within the industry, but just basically any work environment I've ever seen.
Wow.
And we're talking about the entertainment industry, and you know how tough that is. So, but yeah. And just and the system they have in place there, and how to these kids to develop and I mean, everyone goes at a different pace.
Sure.
So there's some people that last, that have been there for a few years. Some people they're in and out of there in a year or whatever. But and everybody, I don't know how much I need to get into like all the specifics. Like, I don't know if. Well, yeah, I guess I can talk about it.
When
they worked their ass up. That whole crew, and that crew has a sense of
community.
There's a bond there, because they all get there. When they do like a live event, everyone's there at like 5 o'clock, and everyone from the first match to the main event and everywhere in between are all helping put the ring up, set the chairs up. It's do all that stuff.
It's interesting you say that. I was a couple of years ago. I was in Florida, and I met up with Ryan Katz, who works down there, and went to an event. And it was shortly after Kevin Owens signed. He was doing the same thing.
Yeah.
He was setting chairs, helping put the ring up, and this is the Kevin Owens we see on television every week.
That's
now.
right. Yeah. And everyone. And I mean, I was more than happy to help do it too. They, actually, no one would let me, and really, they have a system down there that, everyone knows how to put that, put the ring up and tear it down. And honestly, my help would have just slowed them down, to be honest with you, truthfully. But yeah, and you can sit back and tell, like, you see occasionally, some people can't hide the fact that they think they're, a little above maybe setting rings up. So, or things like that, but, I don't mean to be cliche, but these things build character. Sure. Well, yeah. But ask me some questions, everybody.
Well, there were lots of new signees that just got hired. Robbie E., Stokely Hathaway,
yes,
ACH.
Yes.
Did you interact with them?
I did.
What were they happy? Obviously, everyone was happy to see you. But did you have any advice for the new signees there, or maybe people that have been there a while that might be struggling and stressing out about like, why am I still here? I've been here so many years. Why not?
Well, one thing at a time. I saw Stokely. I was happy to see him there. It's nice to see that guy Stokely Hathaway. You know, he took his social media, and you know, he took his he that's a pretty good. Jesus Christ, I'm having a hard time fucking spitting shit out today.
He's a funny dude. That
yes,
we can say.
yeah. But what I'm trying to say is, if you want to see how to do it, how to get your name out there, how to get attention, go back and look at how Stokely Hathaway did it out there. You know, putting his content out there. You know, funny guy, right? Like you can tell the character of Stokely Hathaway, like.
He gets it. Like
right?
He came in and did the Championship Wrestling from Hollywood Red Carpet Rumble this year, and had just a really funny spot. Like he knew what his role was coming in as the first timer in the Rumble, and it was really funny. He gets eliminated, and boom! But it's something that everyone enjoyed.
Yeah.
Do you think that this is a sign that WWE is going to bring back more managers, or do you think he'll be in the ring?
I don't. I mean, I don't know if they're like, you know, we need managers, but maybe, hey. We have these guys, and maybe we need a manager for that spot. I don't think they're going, hey, let's sign a bunch of managers. So I don't think it's anything like that. But, you know, I mean, people will come to conclusions. I mean, because, you know, I mean, I think, excuse me, managers have always, you know, when I was a kid, they were a huge part of wrestling. You know, you take a really good piece of talent that can't talk and throw a manager with them. Boom, off to the races.
And that's what the PC is for. He might develop some kind of chemistry that they don't expect to happen, and boom, there you go.
Yeah, so anyways, you know, skipping around here, like just kind of jumping around, and little shit's coming to my mind. You know, like the first thing I did was, you know, they gave me a T-shirt. I think it's probably the same shirt I'm wearing right now. I don't think I've taken it off since. Anyways, haha. So I went out to the ring, and Norman Smiley was out there teaching, you know, stuff, technical stuff that, like, okay, Norman and I were trained by the same guy, the great Malenko, and all of that. But, I mean, I don't know where the fuck I was the day that all that shit was taught. Because I'm like, what the fuck? Anyways, yeah, no, I wasn't there to be teaching guys moves. Mm-hmm. That's for sure. So, but it's Norman does a great job. Like, they have Norman there. That's about as good as you can get at teaching that stuff. Scotty Too Hottie was there.
He's the best.
Teaching a class. Fuck, who else was there? Oh, Robbie Brookside.
Right.
Oh shit. Anyways.
Well, what did you teach? Anything? Did you like get up and hold class? Or?
No, that's not really how I do it. Like I produced some stuff, and you know, I do a lot of one-on-one stuff with people, with talent and that, and it's just kind of, you know, it's all.
It's almost like if you see
philosophy, you know, like, you know, what to do, and you know, the shit I talk about on here, the in between the move stuff, and that. But
so would you watch two people go have like a little practice match, pull them aside?
No, we watch tape. We watch video of their matches from live events, from TV, from dark matches, or if I'm there at the live event, like I was in St. Pete. And then Venice the next night, you know, you just watched all the matches, and I gave feedback whenever I could, and you know, you know, I'm so impressed by that roster they have down there.
And that includes the roster we still haven't seen on television. I'm assuming just the whole
all of them. Yeah,
the roster at the PC.
Yeah.
Not even necessarily the NXT roster.
Well, I mean, Well, there's that too, but I mean, I don't even know the difference. I wasn't there long enough. I don't think to know the difference. Like, because some people, I think, have been put out there sooner than others. Like, as far as on TV or whatever, or at least having matches. So it's hard for me to tell.
Sure.
They're throwing people out there.
Is it one of those environments that is it like always open? Like, say you want to go work on something at 2 in the morning. Do they have the option of do they have a key card that gets them in? Do you know?
That's a good question. I'm sure. I'm not sure how long, like, the security, there might be 24/7 security there.
Yeah.
And I could see that, like, it being maybe a situation where certain people have keys. Because I know that the office in Stamford, I used to have a key to Titan Towers. I had a key to Titan Towers even when I worked at WCW.
What? Really? Oh,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah, and when I went back to work WWF from WCW, fucking key still worked when I tried to use it.
You could have really done some damage. But yeah, I mean,
What an invasion that would have been.
If Eric Bischoff
WCW and
were-
the NWO just walk right into Titan Towers. We got a
Hey,
key.
so, hey, you want to hear a funny story?
Absolutely.
All right. So, we have those keys, and it was, Hunter and still we were DX, and China was still part of DX, and we were all three riding together. And I don't know, we were pulling into the office real late at night, and there was obviously no one there. We were stopping there. Sometimes, like, they would, like, okay, rent a car for us and have it parked at the parking garage in the office. And so we would just show up there and just switch cars or fucking whatever, right? I mean, whatever the case was, here we are at like 2 in the morning, and we're walking. I don't know, has anybody ever been to the Titan Tower? Front office is like, a typical, foyer or, entranceway. And, like 2 stories, 3 stories, well, more than that, like 2, 3 stories high, And there's this fucking big old poster up on the wall. I mean, not poster, it's a goddamn
mural.
like a,
mural,
like a
yes.
subway billboard, yeah.
Yes, of the upcoming pay-per-view, and like, there's Sable, big as fuck, just Sable, there she is. And there was a little bit of heat, like, over some stuff with China and Sable, and so we're walking by that, and I was like, hey, anyone have a Sharpie? and we got a Sharpie, and fucking Hunter stuck me up on his shoulders, and I put a mustache on Sable's. I put a mustache
Yeah,
on
on
Sable
Sable's lip.
on the goddamn mural, and so apparently Vince walked in the next day, and he like kind of just did a double take, and he didn't even sell it. He just looked at it again and went, take that down.
Didn't even look at the security footage
Yeah.
to see who did it.
That's in the prop warehouse right now. For sure. That's awesome.
That is exclusive, one of one.
Yeah.
Yep. Clip it out. But yeah, I mean, like, some people work better nocturnally, so maybe some people want to go to the PC at 3 a.m. to work on some stuff. So I imagine hopefully
Maybe.
that option is there,
That's maybe, yeah. And I tell you what, they have a strength and conditioning coach there. His name's Sean Davis, I think. I hope I got that right. And wow, I mean, just the things they do now, training wise. I mean, it's very foreign looking compared to, how we trained. Just going into the gym and, doing some dumbbells and some, just some basic, conventional weight training. It's kind of they're much more advanced in that, and like kind of like CrossFit type stuff. I see like different like athletic movements and just different ways of like functional training like that. You're a physical therapist,
Yeah.
like what I'm talking about here.
Exercise science has evolved over the years. I mean, physical therapy, for example, 25 years ago was just hot packs and cold packs and people trying to figure it out along the way.
Yeah.
And now physical therapy is a whole entire new animal. And I know they have a PT staff there for people who get injured.
Absolutely, they had that. That was up and running. Like on my last day there. Yeah,
huge.
people were in there getting therapy, coming in. I saw Sami Zayn come in Oh, just a bunch of different people coming through there.
That is
main roster
so
people.
important. As someone who works on multiple people every event I work, because there's no healthcare staff, to have someone at the PC who, not just, I'm sure there's multiple people who can help these athletes, whether it's just a hamstring pull or something as serious as Sami Zayn.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that does wonders.
So, you know, I don't know if you noticed that, Sean Hayes, his name is Sean Hayes. I don't know, I said Sean Davis. No. Fuck. Anyways, yeah, Sean Hayes. I know Sean Davis is. He's like, anyways, he was an independent wrestler from Florida. So, where was I?
Rehab.
Oh no! What I was going to say is, you know, this new way of training, and I don't know if you noticed, but the physiques look different these days. I mean, they look great, but they don't look like, you know, your bodybuilding physique.
More functional.
Yes, the muscles are longer, and like, you know, just. Well, some people. I mean, everyone has different body types, but
Well,
I
also,
do notice that.
And it's also tailored to everyone's body type. Whereas 10 or 15 years ago, if you looked at wrestlers' bodies, it would be more or less every wrestler trying to look like Hulk Hogan.
Yes.
Whereas now they're trying to look the best they can look for their body type.
So.
Well, going to the PC and seeing all the stuff that they have for all their students, do you think that this is something other schools should implement in their training, and maybe like the Monster Factory should get more rings in a bigger area? And something
I don't
like
think
this?
so.
It's a lot of money.
I don't think so, because that's just, I mean, they operate at a much larger scale. You don't need that on a smaller level, like a school, you know, Monster Factory, or, you know, whoever else's school, you know, Lance Storm's school, you know, like the OVW thing, who just signed a deal like to be developmental for Impact. Good for them. But yeah, no, it's the system, not the it's the way of doing things and the methods that are important, that, you know, other people and like other schools, for example, can learn from, not like the actual facility, because you can't really emulate that if you don't have the budget.
Sure.
So, and you shouldn't even really try. I mean, you do the best you can, you know, but, you know, yeah, I would just concentrate on like what I could take from that place as far as like the methods and the, you know, the way they treat the talent and the way they nurture them, and, you know, the balance they have with not, you know, not cuddling them or coddling. How's it, coddling?
Cuddling and coddling are kind of similar.
But, you know, at the same time, not being, you know, that certain mentality of training that that there's no place for these days.
So it's not like everyone's on eggshells.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
more comfort. You're allowed to
Yes.
fail and learn.
Yeah.
Cool.
So.
How was it taking part in that live event? We saw the video, but obviously it must have been a pretty cool experience.
There was two. The first one in St. Petersburg. Those are tough. You know, they go out there and they perform on such a high level, and it's such a great locker room, such a great roster, so much talent in there. And, you know, they're used to going on some of these shows. Like when they come here, you know, NXT does live events here, or any of the live events outside of Florida, and the takeovers and the crowd responses to the work they do. And then they go to St. Petersburg, my hometown. I love St. Pete very much, but my God, they're out there busting their humps. And I don't know what the fuck St. Pete fucking wants
Oh, no.
to get off of their fucking hands and make some noise. But Jesus Christ.
Like the crowd in Louisiana, what city was
What
that?
the fuck?
Lafayette.
Yeah, or whatever. You know, it's like, you know, you got Velveteen Dream and Roderick Strong just crushing it. And the people are just sitting there not making a peep.
Spoiled.
And I'm like, what the fuck is the matter with you
And
guys?
it was a $15 ticket.
Yeah.
Like,
Wow.
It's $20. It's a $15 ticket, $20 ringside.
You're kidding me.
It is the bet in wrestling. If you're ever in Central Florida, or if you're ever in Florida in general, one of the best deals for live wrestling is an NXT.
Like legit,
Florida
honestly,
show.
I would come up with a different town. I would quit running St. Pete until they fucking actually were grateful to have a goddamn wrestling show there again. I mean,
Or maybe they run it too much.
That's just it.
Because they
might run it too much.
They run a lot of those towns at least 5 times a year.
Yeah.
It's almost like the Impact Zone. The fans,
Yes.
they got very spoiled after a while and stopped being excited.
You
know?
go, but I go to
Full
I
Sail.
go to Full Sail. It's just fine there.
True.
They know what they're looking at, and here's another thing too. Okay, partly in defense of the fans. The fans like a certain thing in certain areas, and in Florida they like the Gaga. You know, I'm not sure if you understand what I mean, but the old like Southern, you know,
Memphis
work
style.
the
The
people,
stuff,
you know,
yeah.
1-2 in the corner, like, and you know, and NXT shows they're going out there and they're giving them just their normal NXT show, and you know, and if they maybe sprinkle a little Gaga in there, it might help.
Little Memphis.
Yes, you have to know your crowd, and you know, and adjust accordingly. So I mean, and that's something that everyone can work on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, for
congratulations, man. We were
Yeah.
very excited to hear you talk all about it when you came back. So
I'm just so incredibly impressed by everything. And Matt Bloom, and it doesn't surprise me with him. He's so even tempered and really knows how to deal with those kids. And Sean, watching Sean, how he interacts with everyone now, it's like, you know, when we all were traveling together, we all had, you know, we were all in the middle of dealing with our shit, and so we weren't always that pleasant to be around with each other, you know, and shit it would come out sideways sometimes, and you know, like, so even though a lot of brilliant things we came up with a lot of brilliant things in the car rides and you know, with our time with each other, but like it's a much more healthier like way. Like I see him, you know, he's at peace, he's happy, and so like
and so were
he's
you.
able to share. Yes,
Yeah.
yes, and so like oh fuck, it's really hard for me to explain it. But
It's like a family environment, and Matt Bloom seems like he's a fatherly figure to a lot of those people.
everyone has like there's a bond there. And there's a community there, and everyone is supporting each other. You know, obviously there's a few little, there's probably some people that'll end up weeding themselves out. You know, attitudes, things like that. But overall, like if you know. Like everyone is uplifting each other, and yeah, I'm just incredibly impressed.
Well, recently Chelsea Green.
She broke her wrist. Yeah, I saw that. I was right there when I was.
Man.
In her
Yeah.
TV
You were
debut.
right there when it happened.
Well, I mean, I wasn't right here, like 2 feet away, but I was at the gorilla position, and you know she didn't even sell that. You know, we couldn't even tell her wrist was broken because like she barely sold it.
And I think she needed surgery, so that tells me
Yeah.
she probably did a radial ulnar fracture, which, you know, that's a couple of months at least of, you know, being patient before you can do anything. So,
But she was saying how she breaks her wrist. She's in the hospital. Zack Ryder's back on the road, and now she's all alone. And then she posted a picture of Ricochet's girlfriend. I can't think of her name. right now.
Casey?
Catanzaro.
Yeah, she took her to the hospital. She spent time with her. She was hanging out with her, so she wasn't alone. And it was like, yeah, like this is a real family. And I think you tweeted something about that. Like anyone who says that. Like,
No, that was Lance Storm because Rip Rod, you know, Hustler Rip Rogers. He's he has so much to offer. Rip is a great teacher, but like I wouldn't take advice, relationships and wrestling advice from Rip. You know, that old mentality of there's no friends in wrestling. You know, the competition. Da, 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 da. Fuck that. That's an old. That's a sad way of going through life in this industry. I've made amazing friends.
Yes.
Okay. We were very competitive. Okay. And we all did very well. And I value those friendships to this day. And a lot of amazing things have happened because of friendships in wrestling. Look, I mean, a lot like the Clique. You know, people can talk about all the shitty things or that they think that we did or were responsible for, but like a lot of great things happen because of that friendship. A lot of great things, happen because of their friendships with, Young Bucks, Cody Rhodes, Kenny Omega.
There you go.
Those are real friendships.
Well, you talk about riding in the car. That's where you came up with a lot of your brilliant ideas.
Yes.
Because of friendship.
Yes. So, although that might be some people's experience, that was Chief Jay Strongbow's experience too. He preached to me, these people ain't your friends. These guys ain't your friends. When you're at home hurt, sitting at home not making any money, you think they're going to call you? Well, guess what, Chief? Yes, they did call me. Maybe no one called you, But yeah, when I was home hurt with a broken neck, a fuck ton of people called me. So everyone has a different experience. Mm-hmm. And if you value friendships and you love people, there's no reason why you can't go through this life in this industry and not make some amazing friendships.
And speaking of friendships, Hall of Fame coming up. How is it getting fitted for that tux?
Oh, Jesus Christ. They give you $1,000 allowance for that thing. I blew that out of the water.
You got a top hat and a cane? Jesus.
No, but I mean, Jesus
That's really not much for a custom fit tux.
Not even.
No.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's way over doubled that.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to look good as fuck.
Hell, I can't wait.
Dapper.
Yeah.
What about Lou? Did you find Lou's outfit
yet? Not yet, but...
Sorry, Lou, the budget's already been busted.
Well, Lou's budget was actually $3,000.
That's right. Should we hit a couple other things before we get to Rory Karpf?
Oh, yeah.
All right, let's do it.
That I just burped.
So AEW and AAA, the partnership continues. This past weekend, the Young Bucks did an impromptu challenge to the Lucha Brothers right after they won the AAA Tag Team Championships. Guess what? Young Bucks win the titles. So there you go, Double or Nothing. That main event, the ante just gets upped. Now it looks like the AAA Tag Team titles are going to be on the line.
Where'd they win that? Down in Mexico?
Yes, Rey de Reyes event.
Huh. That's not how I would have done it.
How would you have done it?
Not like that. I mean, you could do that there, but you couldn't really. I mean, I don't know. Like, doesn't that kind of just kind of smack of like, we need to do this quick title change so we can set this up?
You can take it as that, yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. I don't know what they were, I don't know like the circumstances of what they had to work with, and like you got to get things done, and this is where we're going, and so down there in Mexico you can get away with things like that.
Well, they did. Lucha Brothers defeated Los Mercenarios for the titles. They could have just kept those titles. Young Bucks could have shown up. They could have had a face-off, and then that could have led to Double or Nothing.
I'm not sure where.
But I think
they obviously they know where they're going with it,
sure.
So it's easy to go. What the fuck are they doing?
I wouldn't be shocked if this means that they can send the Young Bucks down to AAA now, but post All In they can't. Or sorry, post Double or Nothing they might not be able to. So in the exchange, it's like you're going to get the Young Bucks down in AAA, but not after May. Not after May 25th when we do this event. So maybe if that's the square peg, this is the square hole that it has to be like. Well, then they'll be the champions heading in, and then your guys.
Yeah, and so sometimes it's like, this isn't ideal. This isn't the greatest way of doing this, but let's just get it done and just like move forward. And every other thing about this is great. The teams are great. So let's Could be better, but let's just
Yep.
get over with it.
Either way, it's already sold out.
Yeah, exactly.
AJ Styles has a new puppy and a new contract, so he officially has signed an extension with WWE.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I pretty much. I mean, it's not, okay, there's leverage, you got AEW's on the market now, but like, I couldn't imagine AJ leaving there. I mean, he's established there. He's established as one of the top echelon of guys in WWE.
Without question. Him and Randy Orton will tear it up at
So,
WrestleMania.
yeah. So regardless of whatever number is on a contract on the downside guarantee, there's way more money being made. So trust me, AJ Styles is gonna make a shitload of money. Mm-hmm. He deserves it. Good for him.
Yes, he does.
And that's a beautiful puppy,
Yeah.
right?
Was it a little Dachshund, maybe? I couldn't tell.
Yeah. So I mean, let's introduce the puppy, and as a side note, I just re-signed with WWE.
Brilliant. Love the way he did that.
Yeah, good for him.
That's pretty
good for
cool.
WWE.
So we had a couple of new matches supposedly added this past week. The one that's getting the most, I guess the most criticism you could say online is Kurt Angle named his opponent for WrestleMania. It's going to be Baron Corbin. A lot of people are thinking that's, a lackluster way for Angle to have his retirement match. What are your initial thoughts on that?
Yeah, I get it. Did you see Matt Riddle's tweet?
Yeah.
He's going to go to McDonald's and eat his sadness away.
Yeah.
That's fucking funny.
It is.
Yeah, I don't know, man. You just, it's just not what people were imagining, right? Yeah. I don't know what to say about it.
Do you think it maybe could be a swerve leading to maybe someone like Cena or something?
Who knows? I don't know. I kind of have a feeling that's not a swerve. That's what, that's it.
Do you think this is their way of saying, like, thanks, Baron, for dealing with whatever you've dealt with this year? You still get a WrestleMania match, and you get to wrestle Kurt Angle?
I think it's going to be...
I don't think that... I don't think there's really any of that put into it. I think it's just like, okay, who are we going to have Kurt work with? We haven't figured that out yet. Okay, who's left to fill that spot? Okay, we got Baron and this guy and that guy. Okay, let's go with Baron. We like him.
I do prefer... I don't want to say I prefer this to the alternative, but I'm happy it's not Roman Reigns, Baron Corbin. Because I think that would be staler. Because that was where we were headed up until Raw last week, was that it was going to be Roman Reigns, Baron Corbin, WrestleMania, no one was going to care. Like, at least now we care about Kurt Angle. And then we get Roman Reigns, Drew McIntyre, which is this announced? I don't think this is announced yet.
He made the challenge on
Yeah.
Raw. I mean, to me, Drew McIntyre, Roman Reigns can make sense in a lot of ways. Because Roman Reigns, he just came back. I don't think they knew when he was going to come back. Who knew it was going to be 4 months?
And, what are they going to do in that match? Are they going to beat Drew? He's on a roll.
I mean,
he needs a good win. And what are they going to do? Beat Roman? He's just coming back from,
If they really think Drew McIntyre can become Universal Champion, this is the spot for Drew to make it happen.
Yeah.
To lead towards that.
And, what else?
There's that match there. We already mentioned AJ Styles, Randy Orton is going to happen, which that could be a showstopper right there. And then Shane and Miz.
They'll make that great. And Shane McMahon match fashion. You know how those are. Mm-hmm. You can always count on them being,
Very entertaining.
Yeah, incredibly.
And there's going to be an Andre the Giant Battle Royal because Braun Strowman said he wants to be in it. So he hasn't officially been entered in it, but he said he wants to be in the Battle Royal. So
I never gave two fucks about the battle. No,
Yeah.
just being honest.
it's crazy that Braun Strowman, that's where he's going to be and not on the actual card in a match. But that's what it's looking like.
It's funny how things, the landscape and positioning can change.
Quick.
Yeah, rather quickly. Yeah.
Well, last year he won the tag titles with a 9-year-old at WrestleMania. We all remember that one. So
Yeah.
The year prior, he
Oh, and then I had the worst awkward moment with Sheamus and that later on that night after WrestleMania. and it was just like, you know how you kind of say things like obligatory, like just like the standard things like, oh, good job.
You're like, hey, great match, champ.
Yeah, like that type of thing. And, you know, we were, it was the end of the night and we were both going up to our rooms or whatever. And, you know, I was like, it was after the WrestleMania match and I was like, great stuff. And it was like, oh, we all know that wasn't. Like, I mean, it was great, like piece of business, like the people liked it, but it wasn't a great thing for him and Claudio. And it was just a really weird thing for me to say, like, that didn't, you know.
You're being
like,
cordial.
Yeah, man, but it was just one of those things, like, we couldn't even, both of us knew, like, no. It wasn't good.
You're like, great job out there. And he's like, I can't even accept
right,
that.
We can't, yeah, right.
I ultimately don't think I did.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Well, that was a moment. Should we take a break and come back
Yeah,
with
let's do
Rory?
that. Let's reset here. And then Rory Karpf is going to come on. We're going to talk about Luke Perry. Welcome back to X-Pac 12360, everyone. Joining us over the phone right now, he's a filmmaker responsible for some of the best stuff out there. You'll know him for his 30 for 30 on Ric Flair. He made Coach Snoop on Netflix. I could rattle off a bunch of things he's done, but
Four-time Emmy Award winner.
Yes, and he's one of the best out there, and he's here to talk to us about his friendship with Luke Perry. Ladies and gentlemen, Rory Karpf joins us.
Yes.
Hey, Rory. Hey, man.
Hey, guys. Thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Hey, so, hey, Rory, when I heard the news that Luke passed, like, you're the very first person that I thought of. Like, I was just like, oh, shit. Like, you know, because you're the one that tried to connect Luke and I. Well, you did, actually. I've told people several times, like, I have a message from Luke still on my cell phone, you know, talking about coming on the show and all that. But, you know, yeah, and then you and I had a conversation about him and you know, just his death and how it affected you. And I just really want, like, think it's a great idea to have you come on and you know, share your experiences with Luke Perry. He's such an incredible guy.
For sure. Well, you know, I like to bring kind of good people together, and I think you're a great person, and I thought the world of Luke, so I wanted to bring you guys together. And I think what a lot of people don't realize is just how much of a huge wrestling fan he was. Luke grew up in the Midwest in Ohio. Very humble beginnings. He's kind of nothing like his character of Dylan McKay on Beverly Hills 90210. He actually lived in a trailer park as a kid. So he told me stories of sneaking into wrestling shows and seeing the NWA, and kind of wrestling influencing him to wanting to become an actor. The performance and the bravado, and he loved Dusty Rhodes. He went to visit Dusty when he worked for the WWE. He went to a couple of shows and was backstage, and he just always had such a great respect for the art of wrestling and always loved it. And in fact, was a producer on the Ric Flair 30 for 30. And I would show him cuts and he'd get feedback on things because he was just someone whose opinion I really respected. And he just loved wrestling. In fact, he had a relationship or a friendship with Cody Rhodes, Dusty's son. So
yeah, you know,
yeah.
Rory, I was there at the Cow Palace that was where I met Luke. And to watch him interact with Cody and tell Cody how special Dusty was to him, and just listening to him tell the stories and that, and to find out, you know, that night just how much Luke Perry loved professional wrestling. It was so cool. How come nobody really knew that, Rory? How come like general public didn't really know that about Luke, that he had a passion for pro wrestling?
Huge. In fact, you know, recently it was kind of in the wrestling news when David Arquette
Right.
Was in that death match and got hurt. Luke's the one that drove him to the hospital.
Right.
So Luke was in attendance at that show. You know, and Luke was a fan of wrestling when maybe it wasn't that in vogue or cool to say you were a fan of wrestling. I think now everyone's a fan of wrestling, and people talk about it all the time, and there's kind of nothing to be ashamed of. But back in the day, you know, people would be condescending about it or say it was hokey. And, you know, when Luke was at the height of his career, he was still vocal about being a wrestling fan and really appreciated the art of it. And, you know, it's just with his passing, a lot of times when a public figure passes, kind of maybe their indiscretions are kind of tucked away or forgotten about, and you only look at the positives. But Luke only had positives. He really was one of the best human beings I've ever been around. It's hard to really describe unless you knew him, of just how good of a person he was, how kind-hearted he was, and just what a great man he was. I mean, I guess in life, you know, you're really lucky if you get to meet a couple of people like that, that really influence you. And, you know, I don't know if you lost people. I know you've lost different people in your life, but someone that you just admired so much. And I just admired him mainly as just a human being, just witnessing how he treated people. And he was an incredible father. So,
so Rory, can you, do you mind sharing with us, like, how, like, he was there for you at some pretty tough times as well, huh?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we met like 10 years ago, and then, you know, became friendly. And then we did a film together on the baseball owner, Marge Schott. I don't know if you remember her.
Yes.
Cincinnati Reds.
Absolutely.
Right. Yeah. And he and I really spent time together then and became friends. And we hang out when we were in LA and different things. But then, you know, when I was going through my divorce, that was definitely for me the worst period of my entire life. And he was just so caring. You know, he had been through a divorce, and he would check in on me. And I remember he invited me for Christmas over his house. And, you know, because he had asked me, he said, "Hey, do you have your kids for Christmas?" And I said, "No, they're not with me." And he's like, "Well, if you're not doing anything, why don't you come over here and have Christmas with my family?" So, you know, I was excited, and I came to LA, and I'm thinking in my mind, you know, it's like a Perry family Christmas, like his kids are there, relatives, and I show up, and it's just him and his fiance, and there's like suitcases out, and nothing's going on, and almost I was getting a vibe from her a little bit, like, what's Rory doing here? You know, in the friendliest, nicest way, but they were going to, I think, Bora Bora the very next morning. And he still maybe hadn't even packed yet. So, and I was like, I said to him, I was like, "Dude, like, why did you invite me over if you're leaving to go away on vacation for a few weeks?" And he said, "You know, I just didn't want you to be alone on your first Christmas without your kids."
Wow.
And that was the kind of guy he was, that he was so caring, and he sat with me, and he, you know, revealed things about himself, and was just a very genuinely caring person. He appeared on my son's YouTube show. He just was always checking in on my own kids. In fact, my son Cooper is a huge Walking Dead fan. And I just mentioned to Luke in passing that we were going to a Walking Dead convention. And Luke's like, "Oh, I know some of the people on that show. Let me contact them for you so they can be nice, you know, greet your son when you go there." And he did. I mean, and he's a busy dude. And to do that just really spoke volumes. And, you know, I'm really, really going to miss him because I mean, the world's going to miss him. He was just a special person. I just wanted to be able to get that across.
Well, that's the thing. Like this has been a couple of. It's been a few weeks now, and and it hasn't died down. That's why it's like when I got your message yesterday, it's like hell yes, we're still gonna have you on to talk about Luke because, like, I mean, there's still like, he's still on the cover of magazines. I go in the grocery store last night, and I mean, everyone's still talking about him because that's how his death has affected everyone. Like all his friends, all the people that worked with him, people that just met him in passing. Like I'm sitting here, you're on my show talking about him. I met him one time. That's how much he impacted me, and meeting him one time, talking to him for 10 minutes. So
the truth is, I think he would probably hate all this attention. I mean, he was a really private guy, and but he was all about people, and he's in the new Quentin Tarantino movie that's coming out this summer,
Once
which is a
Upon a
really
Time
big
in
deal for
Hollywood.
him. Yeah, so he didn't get too into his role or anything. I know that he has a good role in the film, but just to give you some insight into the way he thinks, I had asked him about what's it like working on this set with all these Hollywood heavyweights, and especially Quentin Tarantino, because as a director I really admire him. And Luke was telling me how great everything was, and I said, well, what's the best part about Tarantino as a director? And I'm thinking, Luke's going to give me some sort of insight into like this guy's filmmaking genius.
Right.
And what Luke said was, what his best quality is just how nice he is, how Tarantino treats the cast and crew. He's just a really kind person. And the thing is, that's what mattered to Luke, how you treated people. And that's what stood out to him about Quentin Tarantino, not the writing or his wittiness or whatever, that he treated people well. Because if you were going to be around Luke, you had to be a decent person. And there's just nobody more decent as a human being than Luke. So I think that's why his death is affected the people that know him so well. And even the people that don't know him, I think it kind of shined through in his roles that he had. You could kind of see like there was a lot of humanity in him.
And the way you mentioned, how low key he was and how humble he was, it kind of translates over to how he supported his son Jack in professional wrestling. A lot of famous dads, they would probably be putting themselves out there saying, this is my kid, you need to give him opportunity. He didn't do that at all. Like, he would go and support, but most people had no idea that Jungle Boy was Luke Perry's son, and Jack is thriving now.
Yeah, I mean, I think he built his son a wrestling ring in his backyard and got him lessons when he was a kid. And I don't even know if he was that crazy about him getting involved in wrestling, but I think he was into whatever his kids were into. So, and he never wanted to overshadow his son. He just wanted to support him. And he was such a good example of a father, like just being a good dad. I really feel for his son of how much he's going to miss him, because like Luke was like really looked out for him and looked out for his daughter. And you need those people in life. I think especially you long for it if you don't get it from your own parents. So his son is, obviously a great athletic talent. And I think he was really happy that he signed with AEW, because, from everything I've heard, those guys like Cody and the Young Bucks, they're just like good people.
Yes,
and
they are, yeah.
They're going to have patience, with him, because he's very young and just kind of getting started out in the industry. And he's at a place where maybe he could grow into that role, and maybe not feel like a huge amount of pressure, hopefully.
Yeah, I think I honestly, when I saw that he signed with them, I thought that was a really good fit. They can nurture him and not protect, because we don't want to put someone in a cocoon or whatever, but like just help the kid out, what to watch out for, because there still is wrestling has gotten so much better, but there still is that element, and there's always going to be those people that want to see somebody fail, especially if they think they come from privilege.
Human nature, I think, like we were talking before the call, I think, wrestling, I don't know how you feel about it, but it seems to me like maybe there's never been a better time to be a wrestler as far as the professionalism and the options. You have so many options now where you could go and what you could do, and it seems like WWE is a really good place to be now or whatever. But I think Luke just want I don't want to speak for him, but I would think that he would want his kids just to be healthy and happy.
Yeah.
And, I think just support Jack, as much as you can. He's his own person. He's his own man. He's a very talented kid, but a very, very sweet guy, too. I can't express that enough. Just very humble. Just a good kid.
And there's no doubt Jack's going to be well taken care of in AEW. I mean, you mentioned Cody, the Bucks. I mean, Kazarian and Daniels are not much younger than Luke was. And so I think they're really going to look out for him, like you said.
Yeah, and I think what's really cool, at least from a fan's perspective, and I'm a wrestling fan first and foremost, is that those guys, Cody and the Young Bucks, they're like self-made. I mean, they really kind of got to where they are by their own, blood, sweat, and tears, and kind of became this huge following organically. I've never really seen anything quite like it.
Because it's never really happened. Because it's never really happened, Rory. That's why.
Well, but it's really cool. It's really something like fun to be a part of.
Yeah.
And, I've just heard rumblings about their TV deal. And I think when that gets announced, like people get really excited. And it just seems like it's a great, great time to be a wrestling fan. There's so many good options, including NXT, which is fantastic. And then, WrestleMania, they might have the first main event of female. So it just seems like it's a good time. And I know you're a very positive person, Sean, which I think is a good way to be. And
it's the only way to be, man. It's the only way to be.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So, and Luke was really a positive person and really excited about wrestling and loved wrestling.
Hey, about that. Did you guys sat and talk about wrestling a lot and discuss like favorite storylines, favorite angles from the past? What were some of his?
Oh yeah, all the time. Well, like I said, he loved that 1980s NWA, the Four Horsemen, Ric Flair, Dusty Rhodes. I think Dusty Rhodes was his favorite wrestler of all time. He loved the American Dream, and he grew up when it was still territories.
Yep.
So he talked about what a big deal it was when the NWA would come to Ohio, because it wasn't like they would come every month or whatever. So he just talked about, Dusty Rhodes was kind of one of those larger than life figures, and the theatrics of his promo, the fact that he had a character and knew how to sell his character. And I think Luke really loved the theater of professional wrestling. In a way, the athleticism today probably better than it's ever been in wrestling. But in some ways, the theatrics has been lost because everything's so out in the open now.
Yep.
And with the internet, and you kind of, as a kid, I used to love that, not kind of knowing what was real and what was not. And as a fan, that's what I really liked about the Ronda Rousey stuff, because the fact that people were questioning it. Think about how hard it must be today to get people to question whether something is legit or not, and they got people to question it. Yep. She did that, her and Becky and Charlotte, which I think to me is a great storyline, and to be able to do that in 2019, I think is a real accomplishment. So, and when they can do that now and it works, man, it's like magical. So, but yeah, so Luke loved the theatrics, loved Dusty Rhodes and Ric Flair. and loved the AEW. Was a huge Cody fan.
Hey, so did he
In
ever?
fact,
Did he ever?
We were going to go to Vegas. We
Uh-huh.
were making plans. Me, him, and Jack were supposed to go to Las Vegas. Not Las Vegas. Where did they have their first? Chicago.
Oh, Chicago,
last
yeah.
September. Yeah, but Luke had to film for Riverdale, so we couldn't go. But we were making plans to go that Labor Day weekend, the three of us.
Hey, are you going to be at? Are you going to be there this time in Vegas?
I possibly. I'm trying to see Jack the next time I'm in LA. So I'll talk to him about it. I'll give you another little tidbit. Somebody that reached out to me and sent me a nice text offering condolences about Luke with CM Punk.
Oh yeah.
Because Luke actually called him. They connected when we were filming the Evolution of Punk series, and he gave Luke some advice for his son, and they had like a nice connection, and Luke maybe gave him a little bit of acting advice as he was getting in that world. So they connected there, and and Punk said the same thing. He was in shock and just how cool the dude Luke was. So
it was interesting when you and I were talking about Luke and how he was basically like this Tarantino movie was kind of like he was going to use it as a springboard for like mount a comeback in Hollywood.
I think so. I mean, I think Riverdale's a really popular show, so he kind of got kind of back in the zeitgeist a little bit on that show. But I think with this movie and having a big role in it, would just kind of remind people of his acting ability. And his career really wasn't that important to him. It's hard to imagine that. I think he was appreciative of it, but it wasn't like his identity. Like, I'm an actor, or like I'm in the, it didn't kind of make who he was. He was all about being a dad. That was his number one identity and goal. It was mainly the main thing we discussed all the time. That's how I think he'd want to be remembered more than anything. Somebody that loved his kids.
Wow. I was not so much a 90210 fan or anything, but like some of the other stuff he did, like, people don't realize what a great role he had in Oz.
Yes. Oh my God.
He fucking killed it on that show.
I always wanted to ask
preacher.
him if like he really like what his character did. Was his character really God and then just disappears because they put him in the wall and then he's not there.
That was so crazy.
Yeah, I always wanted to ask him about that. Oh man,
Well,
I'm so glad you brought that up.
I mean, if you didn't grow up in that area, it's hard to express like how fucking cool Dylan McKay was.
Oh yeah,
His
my
character
sister had
on
his
it.
poster
I mean,
on her wall.
He's playing a 16-year-old who, number one, is emancipated from his parents and lives in a giant house, drives a Porsche, is in AA. He's a recovering alcoholic.
At 16.
So he's just, but he played the role, it was kind of a goofy show, but he played it with such a real genuine quality. And he wasn't goofy. He was multi-layered and really connected with people. I mean, every girl wanted to be with him, but guys wanted to be like him. And I remember when I first started hanging out with him, I'm thinking I'm going to hang out with Dylan. And we made plans to go out on a Friday night. And I'm like, I'm so stoked. I'm like, man, going out in Hollywood, this is going to be awesome. Like, are we going to go to clubs? What's going to happen? And I go to meet at his house, and I'm telling you, it was like 4:45 at night on a Friday. He comes downstairs in like these old man pajamas, like something my dad would wear, and he's got a baseball hat on, and I'm like, are you getting change? What? He's like, oh man, he's like, my back's kind of hurt, and he's like, why don't we just hang here and drink beers and have a pizza or something? And I was like, man, this guy is nothing like Dylan McKay. But it just shows that he was such a good actor that he could play that guy. And I asked him once when we were hanging out, because he knew I didn't want to come across like a stalker, but he knew I liked the show. And I was like, can I ask you questions about it? And he's like, you know what? You can ask me any question you want. So I started asking him all these detailed things, like I'm like a Star Trek nerd, but for this show. And he never watched any episode. All of his memories were from when he filmed it. So I'm asking him, like, why did Dylan do this when he should have done that? And how come Brandon did this? And then I remember him just looking at me, and he said, Rory, man, it was just a stupid show. You think too much about it. So,
Incredible.
Put things in perspective for me.
Nice. Oh, shit.
When are you coming back to LA, Rory?
Yeah.
I'm going to come back. I'll be back next weekend. So I'll be out here for a week. And I just got a text from Jack, so his son. So we're making plans to get together.
So this is important, though. You know, when we get into our 40s and 50s and start creeping up there, like, I mean, you know, he passed away from a stroke, Rory. Like, I mean, there was no warning signs?
I mean, I think, you know, he was a healthy guy.
Right.
Thin, worked out, didn't party, you know. I think we want to have a reason to say, like, oh, well, was he a smoker, or was this warning sign? But sometimes people just, it's a freak thing, and I think that's what it was with him. I think it was a blood clot from what I read. But, I mean, I don't know if you remember John Ritter, the actor, died on set. He had an aneurysm. Sometimes just freak things happen. And I think, you know, more than anything, it's why we should live for today and be appreciative of the people that are closest to us. It's why I really value listening to your show, Sean, in all sincerity, because I think you are someone that really lives for today, and it's very appreciative. You don't live in the past. It's really easy to, like, live in regret on things, or also just live for the future, like, oh, I'll be happy when I do this, or I'll be happy. And Luke lived in the moment. He was all about the important things in life. And I'm really thankful that, like, I was looking back at old text messages. Like, I thanked him for being my friend. He knew how I felt about him. And so there wasn't anything left unsaid. So I'm grateful for that. And I think just, you know, live like he did. Yeah. Tell the people that you love that you care about them. Don't wait for tomorrow, and just try to live in the moment.
Yeah. And to follow up your point, you know, the best thing that people can do for preventative measures to avoid strokes, get your blood pressure checked regularly, especially as you age, because sometimes a blood pressure can spike and you have no idea. So to get it checked regularly, that way, in case there is an issue that arises, you can take care of it. So. Yeah.
Hey, real quick, Rory, before we go, what do you have coming up? Like, I haven't heard anything about, you know, your work lately. Like, you know, anything coming up?
I have a film on History Channel that's coming out. Cool. It's called Secrets in the Sky. I think it's going to be coming out this summer.
Is it UFO?
It's a 2-hour film. What's that?
Is it UFOs?
Yeah, it's a little bit UFO based. It's about the founding of Area 51.
Oh, man.
And it's got all this unreleased footage and photos. And
did you talk to Bob Lazar?
What's that?
Did you talk to Bob Lazar?
I didn't talk about that. It's mainly focused on this top secret division of Lockheed Martin, the airplane company.
Wow.
That was responsible for building all these spy and recon planes. And the people that worked on them lived in something called the Black World, where no one could know what they did. So it's like these nerdy engineers who kind of thought they were just working in the aerospace industry suddenly get brought into this whole secret spy world during the Cold War. And there's all this espionage, and then they test the planes at Area 51. And it's just, it's a pretty crazy story. Wow. History Channel is actually doing a version almost of 30 for 30 called History 100, where they look at kind of crazy stories that people don't really maybe know about that have happened over the last 100 years. And they've got some big filmmakers doing films. Werner Herzog's doing a film, and I have a film. It's called Secrets in the Sky, and it's going to come out this summer. Dennis Quaid actually portrays the founder of this company. Which
So
is
it's a
called
drama.
Skunkworks.
So it's a dramatization.
Scripted.
It's a docudrama.
Oh,
so
gotcha.
there's a lot of documentary, but we have recreation.
Oh, it's about Skunkworks.
Whoa.
Yeah, Skunkworks. You've heard of that?
Wow, of course. Yeah. Holy shit.
I can't wait.
And they, you know, in history, like they do a really good job of those type of things. Like they have that show on there called Project Blue Book right now. That's kind of like similar to that. But anyways, no, that's so cool, and that's so cool, Rory. You always
We're
do.
we're gonna have a premiere possibly at Skunkworks, so you'll have to come to that.
Dude, please invite me. I'm there. That's right up my alley.
I'll be
more
your
than
plus
you
one.
Ever know?
Any chance you're going to the UFO festival this year?
The UFO festival, maybe the UFC festival, not the UFO.
Hey, but so you know Ronda Rousey's I think the father is like a rocket scientist for one of those companies, or was.
Really?
Yeah, like Jet Propulsion Labs or something like that.
I think because Jet Propulsion Labs is out of Pasadena.
Yeah.
Wow. No, I wasn't aware. And then I still do a show.
I asked her if her dad worked on any UFO reverse engineering shit.
So that's in our film though, that whole reverse engineering, because the Blackbird, that airplane, I mean, it was doing insane things in like 1960.
Yeah.
It was going Mach 3.2. So a big rumor was that they were reverse engineering alien aircraft at Area 51.
I believe they are.
That's something big that we explore in our film. Is that true? What evidence is there to support or deny it?
Do you look into the TR-3B at all? The triangle?
We don't.
Oh, okay.
No, not that.
Anyways, sorry.
Oh man, this could be a whole
Yeah,
other
no.
episode.
All right. Anyways, Rory, hey man, you're one of the greatest, and you're one of the coolest people I know, and man, I hope to see you again soon. Where are we going to see each other again?
I will definitely hit you up. For you to tell me I'm one of the coolest people you know might be one of the biggest compliments.
I'm honored to know you,
ever.
Rory. I'm honored to call you my friend. Thank you.
Thank you.
And,
likewise.
And thank you for coming on, man. Like, this is really cool. We get to share some of the stories.
I appreciate you honoring Luke, and it means a lot.
Cool. Thank you, Rory. Rory Karpf, everyone.
Take care, man.
Ladies and gentlemen, have a good one, man.
All right, take care.
That was cool. Wow, I love all that UFO shit.
You and I could go all day. I just finished a 10-hour book on Roswell. I'm going to the UFO festival this year. I can't wait.
Hey, there's a YouTube channel called Secure Team. You should check it out. They have some really cool stuff on there.
Count me in.
Yeah.
Sounds like we just backdoor spin-offed a second show.
Yeah, I think we could do that.
Anyways.
That'd be some great content for the YouTube, which you should subscribe to
Yes.
at youtube.com/X-Pac. Follow him on Twitter at TheRealXpac, me on Twitter at Jimbo in the Booth. I keep getting fans asking if you'll be at WrestleCon or Access.
I'll be at Access on Friday from 7 to 10, I think, or something like that.
Okay.
We'll let you guys know, but yeah, he'll be there.
Sounds good.
I'm Steve Kaufman. You can find me on Twitter almost exclusively at Steve Kaufman. That's KAUFMANN. I'm involved in a lot of YouTube pages. If I tweet the link, chances are I'm involved.
All right. I'm at Jay Quasto. The Rikishi In Your Face tour was really great this past weekend. We're going to be in Nashville March 26th and the Brea Improv March 31st. And also I'll be calling some events WrestleMania weekend for multiple promotions and, of course, Championship Wrestling from Hollywood every single week.
Cool. All right. Well, thanks, everyone. And sorry I missed everyone last week. And anyways, well, thanks for tuning in. We'll see you right here next week from AfterBuzz Studios here in the beautiful North Hollywood, California.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Keven Undergaro, Phil Svitek, Sean Waltman, producers Mark B. Donica, Jimbo Frank, and the entire X-Pac 12360 staff, we would like to thank you for tuning in. Like us on Facebook, rate and comment on iTunes and YouTube. Follow X-Pac on Twitter at TheRealXpac and email us at xpac12360show@gmail.com.
The Westwood One Podcast Network.